See if you guys are afraid to admit it. But I am afraid to admit that I am a wrestling fan
Mm,
in public. Is that bad?
yeah.
Are you ready? Womp womp.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Ducking Wrestling podcast. I am the Rowdy Texan Abroad here as usual. Over on this side, setting off the fireworks already because we are doing it tonight. Over on this side, we got Spider Guy.
Spider Punk, Dick.
Well, we don't want to get in trouble for using copyrighted names. So we got Arachnid Man. And down here, where Mr. Too Hard Too Fast normally is, we have a special guest this week. We have Mr. Jerry Soto, who had nothing better to do than come and sit here for a few hours and drink and talk about old wrestling shit.
I
Fellas,
don't even know where I am right now, to be honest with you.
another month, Halloween, spooky season. Welcome to the spooky. With this episode of Halloween Havoc 1998. I was looking forward to this because I knew what was going to be on it, like we had talked about at the end of the last episode. Ultimate Warrior versus Hollywood Hogan. I don't know what I expected. I'd never seen it before, and we'll get to that. But before we start getting into the show, Lathan, what's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole bunch of everything, man. Living the American dream. 10 toes on the ground, breath in my lungs. I'm feeling good, baby.
Beautiful.
Playing.
Beautiful.
Jerry, how the fuck you been? We haven't seen you in forever, bro.
Dude, I was just on like a random Wikipedia page and I got an invite to join this weird meeting. And you can see behind me, I'm in the middle of spring cleaning. I'm way late for that, but I guess we're talking about wrestling or something. I don't know.
It's going to be the weirdest haunted house ever over there. Well,
I'm here, so let's talk about whatever we're talking about.
Little backstory. So Jerry and I have been friends since we were 12.
Whoa. Friends?
We have been
I'm not ready for that kind of commitment, man. And we've been together? Is that a weird way to put it? Friends? Acquaintances?
We've acknowledged each other's existence.
Sure. Yeah. Has it been 12 years or more?
Dude, we have known each other since we were like 12. So I would say 20 years.
I don't even Jesus Christ.
But it's what the funny thing. So Jerry and I have been friends for 20 years, and he is actually how I met George, because they went to college together, same sorority, and real nice and stuff when they do their dances out in front. It's pretty. They got pretty mouths. But anyway, Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself. What you got, man?
Honestly, I don't know anything about wrestling. I was a big fan, honestly, like 1998. What that would have put me at 13. So like 8th grade, it was like Attitude Era. That's best I can remember. But I always grew up more of a WCW guy than anything. So like my whole thing, like going back to Sting, Luger, like Mr. Perfect, like that's kind of where I grew up. So, but I don't know, like honestly, it took me a minute to get back into tonight's discussion. So it was kind of cool, like revisiting everything, to be honest with you. So I'm a little excited.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, honestly, watching this pay-per-view, which I had never seen before, because we've established I was a diehard like WWF, WWE fan, to the point I'm like, fuck WCW. So watching this over, I knew of not the main event, actually. I knew of the Hogan versus Warrior match, but outside of that, didn't know anything about it. Lathan, you said earlier you were a WCW fan, right?
Yeah, this is one of those times where I'm like, in retrospect, I watched a lot more WCW than I actually remember. And then going back and watching this, a lot of bad memories crept up in my head. And I was like, oh yeah,
Yep.
this is why I started watching more WWF again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was always on the fence. I was always on the fence with both of them, guaranteed, because like you could watch them at the same time on Mondays. But then I remember watching this pay-per-view, and I was like, this is really where it started to turn hard, to where I was like trying to find more WWF stuff to watch, because it was crazy. But we'll table the rest of that for later, because there's actually some fun facts that I found out about this, getting ready for this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a good episode because there's a
For all the wrong reasons, Art.
yeah, there's a lot of damn meat to this this show. So let's get it started. We're going to do a quick reminder. This is a bad pay-per-view. I right off the bat, like, this, to me, this was a bad pay-per-view, but the set that they have there in the arena with the blow up pumpkin and demon and stuff,
the demon or the gargoyle,
holy shit, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it was so cool. Like, Halloween Havoc is now part of NXT on the WWE brand. I wish they would bring this back because it was so fucking cool. It's the demon sitting there holding the pumpkin, and it's like shaking with smoke coming out of the nose. The set was the best part of like 60% of this show.
Yeah, absolutely. The writing, I don't know. And then going in, well, I don't want to go too far into it, but the officiating to me was, oh my God. And I'm a layman. I don't know anything about wrestling. I got to remind people, you're probably going to pick up on that as this podcast goes on. I don't know shit. Okay. But wow, the officiating was god awful. Like, there was no play. Like, what are you guys doing out there?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that probably in every match throughout the pay-per-view, because I have a note, I think, on that with every single match. I did like, though, at the beginning when they were talking about the stuff between Hollywood Hogan and Horace Hogan, who is his real life nephew.
Yeah.
Bobby the Brain Heenan could never get it right. Like, he kept saying Hogan's dead brother's nephew. I'm trying to do the family tree in my head, and I'm like, okay, that's his nephew. Dead brother's son. Dead brother's nephew. I couldn't trace.
I don't know much about genealogy, but
yeah, that would be a perfect time to plug in 23andme.com.
In 1998, I think that would have just been some guy on a piece of paper being like, here you go.
Dude, I really thought when you were talking about Hogan and Warrior, I was fully expecting like Crocodile Dundee to pop up.
Well, we're gonna get to that. So the first thing, weirdly enough, that comes onto the show outside of that weird intro, which was just kind of all over the place, the Nitro Girls on a pay-per-view. The Monday Night Nitro Girls were on a pay-per-view. I mean, it was cool. It was nice to see them because they were the only female presence in the entire show. But they even made the comment, the commentators, like, oh, the Nitro Girls are here. That's unique.
They're usually there for the commercial break to come out, do the dance, and then come back from commercial, and then they're on TV. This is a pay-per-view. I didn't pay to see the Nitro Girls. I don't need to pay to see the Nitro Girls. I get the shit for free.
I'm trying to remember. So is that like, were the Nitro Girls like the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders of WCW? I don't know why I don't have. Okay.
They were time filler. That was, and what they were used for normally on Monday Night Nitro was during commercial breaks. If there wasn't a match, they would bring them out. They'd be dancing and shaking their buttholes and stuff, and to entertain.
How do you do that? And David Blaine came out and ta-da!
To entertain the crowd, and then they'd come back from commercial and show like the last 5 seconds of them dancing, and then it would go to the next match. So it was a weird
Like a segue.
yeah, like, but on a pay-per-view where you don't have commercial breaks, it was a weird.
Oh,
So I don't know. Yeah, it was awkward. But whenever they started going through the matches for the night, and I'm listening to it and I'm going, holy shit, this card is stacked. When you start just before the matches, you start thinking about the match that are on the card. Crazy good. I mean, you've got Bret Hart versus Sting, Goldberg, DDP, Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. Like, I mean, the card itself seems stacked. And then, I mean, you started here with what you have potential, and then it just went like that. And for the
Angle.
people,
Hold on, Art. You're supposed to go completely down. You went decline. This shit went down.
And
Hard down.
for the audio listeners, you need to go check out the YouTube, because we got a little stuff that's worthwhile seeing. Yeah, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense me doing this if you're only doing
Listen,
it on
just like and
it's on
subscribe
audio.
to the channel.
Subscribe to all of them, all the channels. So the first thing that we get on a pay-per-view, somebody has paid money to see this. We get Mean Gene interviewing Rick Steiner, and randomly Buff Bagwell comes out. Fucking Buff Bagwell in the FUBU jersey.
This is so goddamn dated.
With the backward, like, Boston bastard hat. God, gross 90s. Like, that's the worst part of the 90s. That's the worst part of the 90s.
Oh my goodness. It's always funny to watch back these things and watch what we used to call something fashionable. I'm like, this is horrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, but it just goes to show the sign of the times. It's 98. So sometimes you just gotta turn your brain off and remember, like, yeah, this is what we wore. It was interesting to get it started. It was weird to start it off with an interview after seeing the Nitro Girls. So like we're already about 10 minutes in, and we have nobody else wrestling to start the show. Like this is literally starting off as like a pay-per-view version of Nitro. So I'm like, it kind of, there's a part of me that mentally started already checking out as an adult, where like the 14-year-old me, no, 98, what was that? 14-year-old me, no, 13-year-old me, young me,
13.
yeah, was watching this on a scrambled TV screen, trying to enjoy it. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna get good. And I'm like, yeah, Buff Bagwell, fuck the NWO. He's running around barking like a dog with Rick Steiner. And like, I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
Shit, the Hall household didn't have Halloween Havoc money on this one.
No, we don't have. We have Halloween Havoc at home, and it's just a scrambled TV. That's what you get. Yeah,
it's just Havoc.
Yeah, just the Havoc. Havoc of the scrambled TV.
Listen, you can have Halloween, you can have Havoc. You're not getting both. What you want?
And it's funny, a lot of people, especially like young people now, don't understand the scrambled channel concept, because you were either going to get a wrestling pay-per-view or you were going to get some scrambled boobs and moaning. And you really were hoping, depending on what time it was and where your parents were, that you were getting the wrestling and not the moment where you're like, okay, is this the pay-per-view? Is this the pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, not the pay-per-view. Click, click, click. Shit. Well, the first match that we get, I was actually, when they were giving the match things, Raven versus Chris Jericho. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a good match. I go back to the announcement of the matches and stuff. The card is stacked. Raven versus Chris Jericho. It's weird though. Did y'all, or Jerry, you may not notice because you're not current up to date on wrestling. They still use Jericho's WWF entrance, they went back and dubbed it in to old WCW pay-per-views. Did you catch that, Latham?
I did. Like it was one of those that I had to go back and try to remember because I know there was like when Chris Jericho went to WWF, they altered it. Jim Johnson altered it slightly to where there was a WWF version, and then WCW had their version that they had too. But when looking back at it, I was like, oh, this is the WWF version of the song, not the WCW version.
I don't know, man. This match, I expected a lot more out of it than what we got. And I'm trying to figure out, and it was kind of a theme throughout the pay-per-view. Do low blows, is that not a disqualification? Because there was
No.
one in this one, and I have a note that said that the referee has a 5 head instead of a 4 head, and he just couldn't see the low blow, so they, got away with it. This was a weird match.
Like Jay was saying, the officiating was really off on this the whole night. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of storylines that were put together, but it didn't seem like they had proper productions to help make sure that it moved the story forward, or at least told a good story in the ring. They just kind of were left to their own demise, if you will, with most of these matches and how they were actually put together, which you'll see like halfway through this card with the Steiner Brothers match. But like it was interesting, but it for what it was worth, they did put on a pretty decent match, but like there's a lot of it was busy. Like the pay-per-view is going to be busy. It was just it just goes to show you how how the pay-per-view started is how the pay-per-view is going to eventually just keep on going, and it's just completely down for it from here.
Yeah. Jerry, did you watch this match?
Yeah, well, so this is I don't know, like you can totally shut me down if I'm wrong, but I feel like, 98, this is kind of like the sea change that you see in professional wrestling, right? Where you're getting over to the Attitude Era and, you're getting into the low blows and the tits out and everything else, right? So I wonder if this was like a really weak attempt by WCW to try and kind of make something of that, where WWF, later WWE, knew what they were doing the whole time because they just had the better writers. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I kind of feel like there was something in there where there was a competition and WCW just didn't know what to do with it. And WWF was just like, oh, we got it. Like, low blows and all that, that's like old hat. That's like scraping, that's the tip of the iceberg. We're going to go do, wasn't it 98, the same year where McMahon was in the hospital and
with the bedpan.
Stone Cold came in and beat the shit out of him?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
pay-per-view event, that wasn't pay-per-view.
No,
that was Monday Night Raw.
That was Monday Night Raw. A pay-per-view event couldn't do what WWF could do in the same year. Like you're trying to get me low blows. Like I want to see a geriatric patient getting his shit beat out of him in the hospital. It was like a half-hearted attempt at what a better wrestling federation ultimately could accomplish. That's what I'm picking up out of it.
Yeah, no, and you're 100% right. So Raven came over from ECW. He was an ECW guy.
And that was like the hardcore,
right,
at the time.
Right. And so, yeah, you're right. At this point, WCW had started on their kind of downward spiral on everything, and WWF had started on their climb with the more risque stuff. And I think that should become the motto of the podcast: low blow, tits out. But no, you're 100% right on that, on what they were trying to do versus WWF and the wars and everything. But yeah, this match should have been a lot better than what it was.
So there were 3 matches in the whole pay-per-view that I really watched. That wasn't one of them that I was able to watch all the way through. I can't say that I did. There was one later that when you were talking about this, which leads me to believe it was a recurring theme, that it just sparked something in my noggin that was like, oh yeah, I got to talk about this, the whole low blow thing. Because yeah, it was like, dude, like, how many times are you gonna do this?
Yeah. All right. So there's not a whole lot of meat to this match. So, Lathan, if you're good, I'm ready to go ahead and rate the match. We'll leave Jerry out of the rating on
2.
this since he didn't watch it. God damn it, dude.
2.
Give me a minute. All right.
Because this was shitty. 2.
Okay. Yeah, and I gave it a 1.87.
Wow,
Yeah.
like, you're lenient, man.
It was not.
Listen, it's two
not the
good,
worst match.
talented wrestlers. They just put it at the beginning of one of the worst pay-per-views of 1998, if not the end of the millennia. And so that's the reason I gave it the 2 that I gave it, because they do have good matches. They work well together, but it's horrible. Like, it wasn't put together right. Like, the match wasn't managed properly. They kind of were left to their own demise.
Lathan, is it fair to say that the bar was high without any of these guys really knowing how high it was? They were just told to jump, and they missed the mark. Considering what where we know the history of wrestling eventually went really shortly after, I wonder if we're judging a little. I mean, harshly but fairly, too harshly.
Okay, I'll give it to you like this.
We're judging it correctly because we're into October of '98. We're in the taint of the Attitude Era. We are in the middle of.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we are in the point where every single person should know where they're at, because and really honestly, Jericho a year later is going to debut in WWE.
Yeah.
And, so we see a lot of them going through.
Right. So he's he's less than a year away.
I'm asking. I'm just asking. That's
no. I like that. I like the devil's advocate kind of thing on it. I think there should have been an understanding when you're a professional, you're with another professional, you need to go out and just do your best. But I agree with Lathan. There may have been no direction for them in guidance on what they should do with this. It was almost like y'all go have a match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So I gave this match a 1.87. So I'm only going to give it 1 thumb down. It's not as terrible.
Look at that.
As it should have been, but
you and your emojis.
Yeah.
It's what
a little impressive.
Well, with that, so we got through the first little bit of it. We're going to take our first commercial and advertise for the guy who's not here. So we will be right back with everybody in just a few minutes.
Hey, Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, a lighthearted, thought-provoking comedic podcast where we talk about society and culture topics through the lives and experiences of my guests. But that's what it says on paper. The important thing to remember is that Too Hard, Too Fast, we don't check facts. Something you can check is for Too Hard, Too Fast podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you use or don't use. Use them all. Watch us all on all of it.
And we're back. Thank you to Too Hard, Too Fast for advertising on our show, even though you have not given us a fucking dime. Anyway, the next thing on the show is the Bischoff Hogan interview, which I had marked down. I'm like, okay, typical Hogan interview, nothing special about it. Stevie Ray, fucking Stevie Ray in the NWO. He had the attire that I would put on some random creative wrestler. I'm going to make him join the NWO and just have random NWO on his pants and stuff. And it's awful. It's
looking like
it was creative wrestler for a PlayStation 2 WCW game where you only had so many limited attributes you could put on them. Listen, this is good as it's going to get. Have fun with it.
You've hit your limit on your attire.
Oh
So
man,
bad. Like
this is
you can't give the man like a good like pair of trunks or something. I mean, come on, it's just random. It didn't even look like it was the spray painted NWO. It just
it
looked
was
like
just iron
Is it
on.
Times New Roman?
I was gonna say it looked like somebody used Microsoft Word and just printed out like a screen print.
Word art. It's like the more you know logo.
They got the idea because the little paper clip came up and it was like, looks like you're using word art.
Looks like you're looking for creativity right now.
Oh man, we are old.
What I thought was weird about this this whole, and it kind of goes to the whole premise of the show. So they made a big deal about Hollywood Hogan being afraid of the Ultimate Warrior, right? But then
Right.
the show starts, this interview happens, and all of a sudden Hogan got his balls back and he don't give a shit. He's like, I'm gonna kill the man. I'm gonna like where did you figure that out? The week before you were terrified of the Ultimate Warrior.
A
Now,
reflection of the Ultimate Warrior, specifically.
right. Where's the consistency here? You're either worried about him or you're not.
Yeah,
Pick a fucking lane.
yeah, man. Listen, everything about the build up to this storyline to this main event was just all over the place. Like it was from week to week. I don't know if you remember, Jerry, going back to '98, watching the Nitros leading up to this, but like,
Listen, I don't remember anything before 2007, so you're gonna have to narrate and fill in some gaps.
fair enough.
Okay.
So I'll give you the brief notes. So
Okay.
about 8 weeks leading up to the pay-per-view, they signed Warrior to a really limited contract, and he's basically haunting Hulk Hogan. And I call this the era of Hulk Hogan getting his spots back that he didn't get in WCW or WWF, because like it was basically this string of Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, and a few other people that he wrestled for main events and WrestleManias and lost to, and then like they all got to WCW, collected a check, and tried to do it again, but they were older and a lot worse for wear. On the long scheme of things, but when it came to Warrior, it was literally the most like convoluted storyline altogether, because it was Warrior being Warrior, which for context, he's off the rails anyways and doesn't like to be controlled or conform to anything. He just goes.
Yeah.
And where he goes, where the Warrior goes.
Yeah.
So the next match that we have is Ming versus Wrath. Ming was a fucking scary bastard.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. That dude coming out, like,
I remember that.
yeah, he was scary as shit, but Wrath was hokey, and it's funny, I have a note in here. For a company claiming to be about like reality and being real, they had some hokey shit, man. And there's a lot of hokey shit in this pay-per-view, but Wrath and the way they're talking about him, it's fucking hokey.
It's really hokey. Well, you know, it's like Wrath was like a run off of the whole Glacier storyline angle. He was one of the characters that were supposed to be that Glacier was supposed to go up against. Like it was Chris King, it was Mortis. Yeah. And so I guess they just took it and just let him continue to run with the name. They try to give him a more badass backstory, but it's really weird. He had a good look to him, which is the crazy part, right? Like, he had a good look to him, and he had promise and potential. They just didn't know what to do with him. He deserved better, to be honest.
Yeah, Ming was a threatening, great kind of character, and yeah, I feel like he was wasted, and not like Scott Hall wasted, but he was wasted in
come on, man.
in what he was doing. But Unfortunately for this one, we do have to rank the match because it was a match. Go, Lathan. I know you're going to interrupt me if I keep talking. Just go.
No, keep going.
No, that was it. Lathan, what did you rank the match?
Oh man, this one was a solid like 2. I mean, it was awkward. Like they're just awkward in the ring together. It was just 2 big men that could wrestle. The way that they were put out here was not the best show of either one of them. But it was at the time as a 13-year-old watching it, I thought it was the coolest shit ever because it was 2 big men bumping meat in the ring, just tough as shit.
God damn.
I'm gonna get it over one day.
Jerry, did you watch the match?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had limited time to watch what I could. So there were a handful of matches I did watch, and that was not one of them, admittedly.
All right.
So
Well, hell, this would have been the one to watch because this is only a 4-minute match.
Wow.
4 minutes?
So yeah, Lathan. So it was 4 minutes.
4 minutes and 23 seconds from bell to bell.
Wow.
So,
Wait, and so we're talking about the Ming versus Wrath match, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Ming versus Wrath. Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave it a 1.23 because it wasn't awful, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with it, but there was nothing behind it. Like there's no story, there's no
It's just a match.
Yeah, it was a match to have a match.
No, definitely. It's that and then some, but like you'll notice as the pay-per-view goes on, there are a lot of those type of matches in here where like some of it is planned, like you are going to have your Rick Steiner versus Scott Steiner was made the night of the show, or literally at least from our perspective, right? Was supposed to be like one of the big matches of the show, and then all of a sudden it turned into something different that segued into something more. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But there's like 2, like I think it was the Saturn versus Lodi match had to get changed at the last minute because it was supposed to be Saturn versus Eddie Guerrero, and so Lodi was a stand-in because Eddie Guerrero missed his flight. You have situations where you have potentially even better matches. Alex Wright versus Fit Finlay. It was literally a storyline match they had put together the week before to kind of fill the void and give somebody some pay-per-view time to give like Alex Wright more of a push. But like, it's just all over the place. Disco Inferno has 2 matches. Like, of all people.
Well, so hold on. We're getting ahead of ourselves because we gave our rankings on there. And like Lathan said, Disco Inferno has 2 matches, which we have up next. We have Disco Inferno versus Juventud Guerrera, whatever it is. I don't know.
It's Guerrero.
Guerrera.
Guerrera. There we go. You say it right. So when this match started and they were talking about like Disco Inferno being kind of heavier, like in like kind of he barely made it to like the cruiserweight size. The only thing I could think was like disco, but the kind you cook on.
Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno. That's all I kept thinking about when they were talking about like how big he was. But I like this match. Cruiserweights were awesome, man. They were the stars of WCW. There's no getting around it. You had the big names, but the people who brought the fans in were the cruiserweights. This was a good match.
Definitely definitely top 3 most entertaining matches of the night for sure. From bell to bell, like this one ran smooth. Like they knew what they were doing. The way that the chemistry was in the ring together is really awesome, especially the way it flows. Because Disco's by all terms is not a cruiserweight. Like No, he's a light heavyweight at best, but like definitely a heavyweight. So it's interesting to see how he can adjust his I guess his defense in the matches to match the cruiserweight's actual moves and keep it grooving, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, but halfway through the match, he started doing the Macarena, and I'm like, that's not fucking disco, dude.
Dude, it's the 1998 thing to do.
But he's Disco Inferno, not
So it's a bad gimmick. Who the
1998.
fuck cares about disco in 1998?
Is it appropriation because he did the Macarena
We could argue
against the
that.
luchador?
No,
Are
you
you
know
trying
what
to
though?
cancel Disco Inferno?
No, I thought about it, and I'm watching this match, and I'm like, you know what? Disco Inferno is just the 70s version of Grandmaster Sexay
Oh, that is fun.
for the 2000s. Like it's the exact same thing, but like if Disco Inferno time traveled to 2000, he would be Grandmaster Sexay,
So what would Alex Wright be?
right where he needs to be.
You
You goddamn right.
So my last note on here is when Disco Inferno gives Juventud the pile driver, and I'm like, fuck, it has been established throughout the show. I love the pile driver. I love it. I love the pulling up and just bam, just fucking drilling them.
Yeah. You like drilling
awesome.
them, right?
Yeah.
I have no comment.
Oh my goodness.
You're
yes.
saying everything that that's your guy right there.
Yeah. He does it like it's actually a
Exhibit A.
really safe, like it's funny because like his power drivers look crazy because he's jumping up to sit down. Like he's not even doing a tombstone when it's a lot safer. But he like it's what kind of goes to show if you do it right, it looks lethal, but everybody walks away safe. Yeah.
Let's give our ratings for this one. Lathan, go ahead. What'd you give this match?
Oh, dude, I give my cruiserweight matches a 3 anyways because they're just entertaining shit. I don't care what's going on. I don't care about the story. I just know that like it's gonna be fun from bell to bell. They give me enough entertainment through just the movements, the free movements of them in the ring, and them putting together a good story. Because most of the time they're just movements, but yeah, they're entertaining. It's all get out, and I was always entertained being 13 watching these. So I'm at 3. No joke.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Harry, did you watch this one or no?
You know, honestly, at this point, I just have to confess, I didn't make it to the library in time to boot up, you know, the internet to watch most of this. The buses were running off schedule, and frankly, I didn't give a shit. And so I only saw a couple, but yeah, this was not one that I watched. Yeah, and again, I don't remember anything before 2007. I don't want to go into it right now, but that's just the reality of things.
Yeah. Well, it was really weird whenever you got to the library and you didn't have the telephone port in your computer. It's
that took a lot of
big wide one. Why is there a wide? I don't have that.
I would have seen everything. Yeah, like you can't accommodate me, or you fucking like. Anyway,
Right.
it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I gave this match a 2.29 because I was really entertained with it, but I feel like they kind of went under par with what they could have had. But I think that's the running storyline with WCW period with Cruiserweight. They could have been so much more. They weren't. With that, we're going to take our next commercial break, and we will be back in just a couple of minutes.
Hey, Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, a lighthearted, thought-provoking comedic podcast where we talk about society and culture topics through the lives and experiences of my guests. But that's what it says on paper. The important thing to remember is that Too Hard, Too Fast, we don't check facts. Something you can check is for Too Hard, Too Fast podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you use or don't use. Use them all. Watch us all on all of it.
And we're back, and coming up on the Scott Steiner promo and old Roidzilla up there just spouting off shit. And I don't know. I've never been a Scott Steiner fan. I was never a Rick Steiner fan either. I was just kind of meh on either one of them.
Rick Steiner was better than Scott Steiner for sure.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue.
Oh no,
I wouldn't
definitely.
argue that.
I was a big Papa Pump fan back in the day.
You
Yeah,
are big
they were
Papa
good.
Pump.
Holla if you hear me.
I'm gonna need you to do that. I'm gonna need you to do that before your next lift.
Yeah. I got you, dog.
And Anna had better get that on video, and I'll put it on here. Just you getting under there, being like, "Holla if you hear me," and just hitting the.
Oh man, just wreck it, dude.
Yeah.
I'll probably that's a PR day for sure. I'll make sure that it gets fully recorded, clipped, and snipped. It's going to be on the podcast, bro.
Yes.
The promo sucked. Like, I'll be clear. Like, it was kind of. There were a lot of promos that were put onto the show that could have easily been done backstage and pre-recorded. But I know I get to try and give the live crowd more bang for their buck. But this was one of those like. I get why they did the promo so they could set up the tag team match for later to get to that point. But at the same time, like Rick Steiner or Scott Steiner's never been the best with a microphone in front of him. Not at this point yet. Like he gets better with his promos with time. But then there's also like the Giant was there and he didn't really do nothing. He's awkwardly sitting off to the side smoking a cigarette, trying to be a bad guy. And it was a whole bunch of kerfuffle. His promo sucked most of the time.
But remember, we're 3 to 4 months away from the Giant debuting in WWF because this is in October. He debuted in WWF in February.
Was it that soon?
Yeah, because it was at St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1999.
That's right.
So at this point, yeah, Big Show's just not giving a shit. Our next match we have up is Fit Finlay versus Alex Wright. And man, when they started with this match, I was like, dude, this is gonna be a great match.
Look at him go.
And just like Lathan, nobody in the crowd could do the dance like Alex Wright. Nobody could. They were doing like a bushwhacker.
13-year-old Lathan, rock this. I had the whole German electro dance down to jam packed. I tried to dust it off. It's not working.
No,
my hips are too tight. Knees are buckling.
Like the kick and I can't do it. Jerry, you want to try?
No, I'm good.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, they show the crowd and like nobody can do the dance like him. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the German.
It's a German thing.
Yeah. You know, and I wondered what happened to Alex Wright. Dude was a great wrestler, like really, really good. And so I had to look it up on what happened to him when WCW folded, WWF bought it. He was one of the guys that had the AOL contract.
Oh yeah, stay at home.
Yeah,
write the thing on out.
Get paid. I didn't, you know, when you think about the wrestling history when WCW folded and guys that didn't go to WWF immediately, you have guys like Hogan, Hall, Nash, you know, the really big name guys who had these lucrative AOL contracts where they were paid millions of dollars to not work. It was really surprising to me to find out that Alex Wright was in that.
I was today years old when I found that out. I just thought they didn't pick him up. That's like because they were grabbing all the undercard wrestlers, the mid-card wrestlers for WCW at the time for WWF to have him come on. But I knew he just went away, but I never looked him up to understand where he went to.
Yeah,
The things you learn.
Yeah, and I know Jerry was a big Alex Wright fan.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah, the Dancing Fools. Was it Alex Wright? And who was the other guy?
Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno. Amazing. Like, how do you top that? There you go. Look at him. Look at him go.
Oh,
look at my childhood. I know. What am I even doing here?
Being beautiful, bald and bearded, baby.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
He looks like a bearded Cabbage Patch Kid.
Look, yeah.
You know, but the match was short, but man, it was really good. Like,
yeah,
Fit Finley is so good, and Alex Wright was really good too. And I'm really sad that we never got to see more of him, but this match was really good. It was short, but it was awesome. And the thing it really kind of pissed me off was the crowd started chanting boring.
Yeah.
And like, really, these two are putting on a wrestling clinic in this match with their style and going back and forth. And even the story behind it where they're like, well, Fit Finley broke the leg of Alex Wright's father and ruined his wrestling career. And, you know, like, there was a good story behind it. And the crowd's chanting boring? And fuck off.
Oh, you gotta think about it. So think about the turn of how wrestling was at the time. Like, wrestling was starting to turn as far as the fan base, right? Like, so as far as fan base, we appreciate wrestling to a certain extent, right? For certain reasons. They were still wrestling, and then they were giving us as commentary watching it from home a storyline to go along with. They didn't have the storyline that they played up on TV on Nitro. They were too busy doing Hulk Hogan Warrior bullshit and all the other storylines that were going on at the time. But then on top of that, they're doing like some legitimate technical wrestling. This is the entertainment era where most of the entertainment is done with the promos, the character build, these back and forth storylines, and it's not the actual wrestling that keeps us entertained anymore. Like, and to a certain extent, and what I mean by that is like the technical wrestling that we appreciate and value isn't what's drawing the numbers anymore. I guess you're starting to get more into the hardcore matches and the gimmick matches and stipulation matches.
Yep.
And so you're seeing that the turn going at this particular time. So yeah, from bell to bell, it's boring because of the technicality. But for everybody that loves wrestling for wrestling's sake, it's completely entertaining. Like, this is hands down the second best match of the night.
Yeah,
easily. Yeah.
In 2023, them being moved to it would have been a barn burner. It would have been a top match on the card with the story going and everything. So yeah. I Latham, what'd you give the match?
I definitely gave it 3.5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, definitely. Like, from bell to bell, like I said, it was what it's supposed to be as far as what WCW wrestling is usually known for before this whole wave of entertainment starting to clash over it with Hulkamania coming in and stuff. And so it gave it a really good technical feel that I enjoyed. So I definitely appreciate that value that they put into it.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.7. And the reason I kind of gave it a lower ranking was for the fact that it was just there wasn't enough time. It should have been more time. Just the interaction, they had to do it so quick because they had to get to the finish from beginning to end really quick. So I think that kind of took away from the genuine ability of each guy. So 2.7 on my side.
So just at this point, Art, we're at 4 matches into it. Time-wise, the longest match on the show so far is Disco and Juventude. This is this Finley Alex Wright match is 5 minutes 9 seconds long.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, if you think about it, based off of what we've already seen so far into the show, we're an hour into the show already, and we've had 3 promos, a Nitro Girl dance, and 4 matches where we could have had maybe a Nitro Girl dance to start the show, or just cut that, 2 promos, and we could have had a longer appreciative match, at least two different matches that we already seen so far.
Well, and this is kind of the reason why WCW lost the war, is they weren't putting out the product. And
Yeah.
I mean, and really, when we go to the next thing is the backstage interview, which I don't even know if it's an interview. I think it was off of their like 1-900 number. And,
Oh yeah, they're running their equivalent of the dirt sheet.
Right.
Gossip column.
Yeah, and I don't even know who the people are interviewing. The guy with the mustache, his voice sounds very familiar. I don't know who he is.
Hang on a second, I'll find out.
We're going to put our research team on this one
Yeah.
while we go to the next match. So next match we have Lodi versus Saturn, which I'm really sad George isn't here, because George is a huge Saturn fan. And I was really looking forward to having a conversation with him about this match, because Saturn comes out on his entrance and they're like, oh, he's wearing a garb that is, related to his time as an Army Ranger. He's got a beret on, right? The backwards beret. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But he's got like a Shawn Michaels mesh,
like a mesh
vest on. And I'm like, that's not Ranger attire. I mean, I'm no Army Ranger, but that's
yeah, not the Rangers Art. He's one of the secret Rangers.
Look, I know Army Rangers, I know Power Rangers. Neither one lines up with that. But the
Blue Ranger.
So I will say the match was really good. Like, these two together, and I don't remember who the fuck Lodi was. I think he was part of Raven's flock, and he kept holding up signs, which was weird. I don't know what his point was, but the match was really good. The only spot that I saw that I'm like, I kind of cringed at was at one point Saturn does a leg sweep, and like straight up martial arts leg sweep, like not a, hey, I'm gonna touch the back of your legs and you're gonna do a bump. Like, he wiped the dude out.
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
I'm like, holy shit, that dude, if he wasn't paying attention, he would have gotten fucked up on that one.
Yeah. He used to do that all the time at ECW when it was him, he was part of that tag team, the Pitbulls. Like, that was one of their moves. It's like he would sweep the leg, and then the other guy would do, I think, some kind of clothesline or lariat move to take him off his feet. But
I remember that. Yeah. Yep. I remember that.
He just kept it in his repertoire.
Jerry, what are your memories of Mr. Saturn?
Honestly, man, I'm not a big enough fan to really know. I have no recollection of who Saturn is. I can look him up. I'll look him up real quick. I might remember him, but
Look
He's not
look
ringing
him
the
up.
bell.
Look him up. Look him up and see if it draws a memory.
Like vaguely, I guess I guess he didn't make a mark on me. I don't know.
Yeah, George is a huge Saturn fan, which I'm disappointed.
He didn't. Yeah. I mean, I kind of remember him like back in like the recesses of my memory, but I can't really say that he made a mark on me.
This match was good. I really enjoyed this match. Lathan, you want to give it a rank or a rating?
No, it was like a 1.3.
Really?
Yeah,
Shit.
it was too fast. Like it needed more time. Like so, time management is a big thing on the show that needs to be utilized more effectively. And I'll explain why in about 45 minutes once we get to the end. But yeah, man, like it was. So to be fair, for full transparency, this is probably the match that I kept on missing when trying to rewatch this, and it was for just like little reasons where like OJ got my attention for something, or like I was randomly answering a phone call from work or something. I didn't go back. Perry Saturn's a good worker. Lodi was an interesting character at the time. I was a big fan of Raven's Flock. And some of the characters that came out of it, especially Billy Kidman, because I was super jealous that he was married to Tori Wilson for so long. But as workers, they were a good set of workers that were coming from a lot of times the ECW outfit at the time with Perry Saturn, Raven, because they've had some really historical matches over there. And Billy Kidman having his come up and stuff like this. But both like Lodi, I wasn't a big fan of. So I really kind of checked out mentally a little bit halfway through it, which is a minute and a half. It's the three, and so it was good for a while. I remember for the athleticism, but it wasn't anything really to ring home about. To really say like, hey, this is a great match and it's entertaining. Like this could have been on Nitro. This was a Nitro match, so 1.3. Yeah,
I agree. It was definitely a Nitro match, but it was a good match. I gave it a 2.9. I really enjoyed the kind of fast-paced interaction with Saturn is a great wrestler. Lodi, I don't remember a whole lot, but it was. I thought it was good. I thought it was a really good match. Not as good as the next match. We have Disco Inferno versus Kidman. As soon as I saw this with Disco Inferno having a second match of the night, and it made me think like, why was the Disco Inferno never in the WWE, WWF?
well, it's interesting. I think he was one of those that just chose not to go to over there. I think they gave him a tryout. The tryout went halfway decent, and then they just kind of not picked him up. But then it became a point where Disco just started saying like, "Oh, I chose not to go," and
I disagree with that because it almost feels like Kidman and Disco Inferno had such a great match. Disco Inferno could have easily transitioned to the WWE with his character. Like it would have been an easy transition. And he was a really, really good wrestler. I don't know, man. I feel like it was a really big missed opportunity.
yeah, he could have been. I like when I see Disco, I see his matches. Like they're good, they're entertaining. But there's a way that, like, as a fan over the years, right? Like there's a way I perceive a WCW match versus the WWE match. Like there's just different things that I look at across the board that make them entertaining, but they're completely different. And just like with WCW, WWE, right? Like we grew up watching them, but we liked WCW for certain things, and we also like WWE for certain things, and we just knew that we're going to get something different from each show because of the way that they just ran and operated 100% of the time.
Yeah. That's very true. I really kind of thought maybe Disco Inferno had the AOL contract. Nope, he didn't. But I will say in this match, Kidman, his attire with the wife beater, jean
And the
shorts,
jeans. Yeah.
and the black work boots. I'm like, dude, that is fucking brutal 1990s. Like,
Yeah.
attire. Like, that is the epitome. Like, fucking damn.
It's 98. That's what we wore.
Jerry, do you
Tommy
remember?
Hilfiger jorts. The
Jerry,
Carpenter's.
Jerry, do you remember Kidman?
Yeah, vaguely I do. Dude, you're really like you're making a lot of stuff crop up in the old noggin right now, man. That's old school. I'm having to reach back to remember some of these guys. I'm at what was I, 13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
for the relevance, let's go ahead and establish the aging, or the age for everybody. So
We're 38.
Yeah, we're
Jerry,
38.
so we're all 38. Jerry was born in April. Lathan is 7 days
Yeah.
older than me. So I'm the youngest one out of the grouping here.
Yeah. April, like literally, Jared's born in April. I was born in May. You were born in June.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's go ahead and rank the match, man. You know what really kind of excited me? I got another fucking pile driver in this match. That I love him. Love
Dude.
pile driver.
So this is the one thing I did really appreciate about the match more is that you didn't mention this at the beginning, but this is the reason why Disco's having this match is because he won a number one contendership from the match earlier to become the the challenge for the cruiserweight championship.
Yep.
Which was one of the better storylines he had at the time, which they did a good job on doing, and it was golden. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was so I'll give a rank real quick. I'll step out. It was a 1.3 for me.
Damn, dude.
No, I'm just kidding. It was definitely 2.8 for sure.
Even that one's a low ranking. Shit, man.
2.9.
Oh no, this was definitely athleticism at its peak. Like it's good. It's a good match across the board. It's entertaining. I love the shit out of it. Definitely giving the rating it's supposed to get 2.8.
Oh man, I gave this one a 3.9. Like
What the fuck, Art?
I loved this match. Like these two going at it, and you have Disco Inferno, who's a bigger guy, with Kidman, but they're fighting, they're going at it. Man, it was so good. I gave it a 3.9. This was probably the best match rating I gave on the card.
It was the second longest match on the show, behind Ultimate Warrior and the Hulk Hogan.
That's an interesting fact we will be discussing here in a few minutes. So the next match that we have up is Scott Steiner and the Giant versus Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell.
No, Art. You respect the man and give him his full name. It is the Big Bad Booty Daddy, Big Papa Pump, and the Giant, your WCW World Tag Team Champions. Holla if you hear me.
God damn it, Lathan.
Bam.
All right. Hey, before we get into this match, we're unfortunately going to have to say goodbye to Jerry. He's got to get in, and
I got to go fulfill my fatherly duties. My kids starting to wake up.
So we're going to take this opportunity to take a commercial break. And hey, Jerry, thank you.
Thanks for having me, all. I wish I had more expertise, but hey, it was fun being on.
Well, we'll get you back again whenever we have something. And thank you again.
All right, go Goldberg. Later.
All right. Hey, wait, real quick before we go, can can you see your name that I put for you, Jerry?
That's low, even for you.
Not as low
and
as
I'm
you.
not bald. It just pushed down and went elsewhere. Like I'm not. There's more.
He's just got
You're
a
like
lot
the
of
human
forehead.
etch a
Going.
sketch.
He's got a lot of forehead going.
I'm like a what was it? Wally Willy? Wooly
Yeah,
Willy? Is it
where
Wooly
you have
Willy?
the magnet,
The
to move
Woolly
the
Willy?
hair around.
Yeah. I can't, use your imagination. Just drift down.
Oh,
All right. Well, hey, Jerry, thank you again, man. Love you. Hope you lose in fantasy football this week.
Oh, it's
We
not
will
going to happen.
be taking a commercial break real quick,
Oh.
and we'll be right back with y'all.
A Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, a lighthearted, thought-provoking comedic podcast where we talk about society and culture topics through the lives and experiences of my guests. But that's what it says on paper. The important thing to remember is that Too Hard, Too Fast, we don't check facts. Something you can check is for Too Hard, Too Fast podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you use or don't use. Use them all. Watch us all on all of it.
Welcome back to the podcast, and we somehow managed to get Mr. Too Hard, Too Fast to come out here for the rest of the podcast. I'm excited. You're excited. Lathan's excited.
very excited.
I
George,
came back from the dead. I'm here, baby. Also, I feel like this is how people used to dress in the 90s. So I'm here for it. Fucking 9098. 9098.
too many nines. There's too many nines. Shit, guys. Man, here we go. We're going into the Scott Steiner with the Giant versus Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell. And the Giant came out smoking a fucking cigarette. Is that where we are in pro wrestling?
So, for context too, Art, like, yeah, keep in mind this Big Show the Giant, Captain Insano, pre-Captain Insano, he's like 22, like 20, like 21, 22. He's young. So, like, cigars are old people coolness. Cigarettes are young people coolness. It's edgy. It's hip. It's the thing to
Also,
do.
this was before like the Think commercials or whatever, like those commercials that told you to smoke or whatever.
Yeah, those came out were like 99, 2000, the anti-smoking shit.
I think that was on his own thing. I think that was like, fuck it, I'm just going to come out with a cigarette. I don't even smoke. I'm just going to do it.
He said that. He had said that in interviews. He's like, I didn't smoke, but I thought maybe I'd come out with one.
It's part of his gimmick at the time. But he was actually 26 at this time. So yeah, like it goes to just show like cigars were like the old man's type of smoke to have. The young kids had the pack of cigarettes. Like it was just a cool thing.
I mean, it kind of goes along with the whole like environment of the match where Buff Bagwell is just wearing a pair of fucking Tommy Hilfiger jeans for the match.
Yeah.
So why not let Big Show smoke a cigarette? I guess it's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, this match is all types of weird to begin with. But like, take a step back, like the stipulation. This goes into the stipulation matches because this leads into the next match we're about to watch. But like they put the tag team titles up on the line, and the stipulation was if Rick Steiner won, then he would automatically roll into a match with Scott Steiner by himself as a one-on-one match, which was weird in itself already. Thinking about it on the creative side, it's like we talked about time management of the show in itself. You could have not had this tag team match and just had Rick and Scott have one of the best matches ever on the card. And instead of us having this 15 minutes of what the fuck's going on in the match.
Yeah.
Personally
Well,
speaking, I was kind of
especially after Buff Ballswell, he he does the bad guy thing and you know, like backstab Rick Steiner, which by the way,
In the 90s, I was a Nitro girl.
I don't even know what that means.
And you don't have to know. It gets the people going. One of us. One of us.
just absolutely beautiful. What a gorgeous sight.
But you know, in the match, they go through everything, and then Bagwell does the swerve, and I'm like, who didn't see that coming? Who did not see? Yeah, I mean, we all knew, right?
No, 13-year-old me did not know. I was watching the scramble, although it was one of those times where, like, I was enjoying it for the sake of it. The bad guys getting over again, being a big sucker. Like, I was a big mark for the NWO at the time, right? And just about everything they did. So at the time, watching it originally, it was like super cool. Like, oh man, they gave him a big swerve, they screwed him over again. And like Rick Steiner's gonna lose. Like, you're gonna beat the shit out of him, he's gonna lose. And then he didn't lose. And I was like, what the fuck was all that for? And then now watching it back as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, I saw this from a mile away. Ray Charles saw this swerve coming.
You know what?
And then it was to say, like, he still won because the Giant is so goddamn clumsy that he just accidentally, like, it's a missile drop kick. First of all, why is there a 7-foot anything on the top rope doing a missile drop kick?
And it took him like 20 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
Like, he kept repositioning his foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was like, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen now?
Oh man, no, we could tell, like, there's moments and times during the match where you can tell, like, Big Show is gassed for being. I'm like, you know, this is what happens when you smoke cigarettes before you're supposed to go out there and wrestle. Like, that's why they're leisure type of things that you do and not just like actively do. See, if you would have not had that pack before you came out to the ring between the promos and everything, maybe you would have had a better match. I've still been tag team champions. Stupid.
Kids, don't smoke. Bad.
Smoking's bad for you.
Or do a missile drop kick from the top rope.
When you're 7 foot tall.
Or smoking.
Or both. Just don't do it.
Don't do them. Not together, not at all.
All right.
Oh,
So, you know what was weird? Throughout this whole pay-per-view, and Lathan and I, and actually Jerry was talking about it too, the inconsistency of the referees. Like, there's in this match, multiple matches before it, low blows. And nobody seemed to care. There, and even like the referees were watching and seeing the low blows. I don't get how the officiating during this whole show was really kind of weird. I don't get where it's like, oh, they're gonna let them fight.
Well, like, it's like, you know, there's parameters to make a match flow, and the official's supposed to officiate, right? And if we're not officiating, then why are we out there? Like, just let it be like, or at least before you have the match, say this is a no DQ match, or insert whatever dumb stipulation you're going to run in there that makes it justified that we're having the situation pop up. But like, the other thing too is just like, you can tell there's no like communication from the back to the referee, like, hey, like, okay, we're getting ready to do this spot. Like, creatively, it's awesome, but the way that was executed absolutely sucked most of the time.
Yeah.
But even in the match, like they like ring the bell like to like call it off, and then all of a sudden they continue the match, and then they win the fucking the titles.
Yeah.
Like I was watching, I was like, oh, it's over. It's one of those like, oh, disqualification or whatever, and like ding 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 ding, and then they're like, no, the match keeps going.
Yeah,
Why ring the bell?
Yeah, there was a lot of inconsistencies in this match. Well, not even just in this match, throughout the whole show. There was,
but more specifically, this entire match.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, which I honestly. So okay, we're gonna rate this match.
No, we're not. We can't.
What did you say? Excuse me, sir.
Rate. We're gonna rate this match.
All right, hold on. All right. I have a way of doing this that makes more sense. Let's rate both matches because technically this is one full ass match.
We will. So I already have it down. So we're gonna rate the Steiner Giant versus Steiner Buff. We're gonna rate that match. So,
okay.
Latham, what do you give that match?
Okay, so I rated the whole thing as a whole. So if I had to go and separate the two, this is definitely like a 1.8. And I'm being generous. Being really generous right now.
Yeah.
It was like, it could have been like, it's kind of one of those matches that it could have been more given the talent that was in the ring and the storyline that kind of led to this situation. But there's two takeaways from it. First of all, Giant is a stand-in for Scott Hall, who was actually the tag team champion with Scott Steiner, which there was so much room to run with that between the two of them having the titles. But that's for another day, another conversation, and a deep dive into the NWO's massive fuck-ups. But then also, like, it was Buff Bagwell coming back, and like I've never really been the biggest fan of Buff Bagwell. He's entertaining, sure, but like he wasn't one I would go out of my way to go watch at this time. He was just more. I knew him more at this time as from being American Males to being Scott Steiner's sidekick. And
American Males,
yeah. And it was just one of those random last minute things that they put on the card to put more matches on the show. And so,
yeah.
But what did you give the match, Art?
Man, I gave it a 1.9. The first match, initial first match, give it a 1.9 because the whole thing, like Buff Bagwell in a fucking pair of Tommy Hilfiger jeans, like we knew there was going to be some shenanigans going into it. And it just was predictable. Very predictable. I mean, the ending was good, like with the fighting and everything and going back and forth. Again, I was trying to figure out like the low blow shit. But apparently this match was a no DQ match, so okay, fine. Yeah, it went too long. Once Buff Bagwell left, the match just it went too far, too long. It kind of got me to the point like, fine, finish it. Just it was too long.
Yeah.
George, what'd you think?
I want to say 1.8. Like 0.3 of that is just for the cigarette alone. But here's what the match reminded me of. I remember when I was a kid and we were like wrestling fans and creating our own factions and back in the day, the teachers thought we were creating gangs, but we were just DX and NWO. Fucking nerds. Teachers don't know. But I feel like everybody did this. Like, I feel like everybody was in a faction. But the thing is, like, my teachers, like, they got, like, I think it was fifth grade or sixth grade. I have no idea. But, like, it was a huge parent conference of, like, how there's a different gangs being created. There's colors associated to it, the black and red, green and black. The DX is black and white. Like these are just wrestling, things. But the thing that reminded me Buff Bagwell betraying Rick Steiner almost out of nowhere was that you knew it was coming. People would jump. At least I remember, like, people would jump to a different organization and get the insight and be spies, and then betray that and be like, no, and they rip their shirt off and be like, no, I was always NWO, I was always DX, kind of thing. And so I remember when I was a kid here, before we got like busted for creating gangs, I was DX, crossed into NWO territory, and then I was like, no, I'm NWO for life, baby, for life. And then and I'm hanging out with them, and then I go up and I grab that guy. I'm like, no, let's get him. We're like, I betray him. I'm like, no, DX for life, baby, DX. And then and so that's what that reminded me. I was like, oh man, back in the day, how crazy, how stupid we were. And so that is why
Those are good times.
Yeah, it was a good reminder of like the stupidity and fun of the whole thing. And so 1.8, just because it gave me that one little memory back.
Nice. Yeah. It's amazing now too, because all of us being parents, if we got told by the teacher, well, your kid like crotch chopped somebody, I'd be like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be mad about it, not like.
I was like, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's good. And also, it's like most of the time we're watching, at least for me, I'm watching wrestling without my parents knowing. Like, they're not telling me what to watch or not, but I'm like, just like, I know that if they walk into the room, and I've said this before, if they walk in the room, it's always at the wrong time. And I'm like, oh, great, I'm watching this.
Every time.
The fucking Nitro girls are dancing. Dad, I'm watching wrestling.
Seeing like mine. So I grew up, my mom was a wrestling fan. My grandmother was a wrestling fan, like Wahoo McDaniels and the Von Erichs and all of that. My mom loved them. So trying to explain like the fucking Attitude Era to my mom, like, no, Mom, look, she whipped her boobs out, but it's okay because it's part of the story. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's all good.
Supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But she didn't really show her boobs. She didn't really show her boobs because they had handprints on them. They were painted.
No, that was the cat showing her. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 So the next match that we technically have up is Steiner versus Steiner.
Not the match we were granted was not the match we deserved.
The pound.
Yeah, too much Steiner. Too much.
Yeah. Listen, they're one of the greatest tag teams ever. Both really great in the ring, wrestling wise, especially at this time, both wrestling wise. But we didn't have to have the tag team match to get the brother match. Like, I feel like one of the two matches should have been taken off the show and saved for another series or something. And more specifically, the tag team title match. Like, they could have not been on this show because Scott Hall was busy doing something else with another wrestler. But If realistically, Art, I would say if they didn't have the match they had prior to this going into it, and they weren't so blown up already, this would have been a better match.
Yeah. If this had been just a straight like planned matchup, great, because both guys, for being the size that they were really, really good. They were quick. Yeah. They were really good. But I think it was something that it should have been a planned match. And the whole thing with like Buff Bagwell, God damn it, dude. Like, you left the tag team match to go throw on a suit with a Bill Clinton. Like, that's the swerve that we're getting. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what threw the whole match off for me in its entirety. I'm like, why are we getting a double swerve from Buff Bagwell to come out again? And it still doesn't work. Like, Rick Steiner wins this match too. This is bullshit. This is not creatively how this is supposed to go.
but did you see Charles Robinson? They were like, "Oh, he's."
Or the announcement. Well, hold on. The announcement of like they're like a fan just attacked the officials, and then for an instant I was like, "Ooh, a fan attacked the officials," and I'm like, "No, I know better." But maybe at the time, if I was watching this as a kid, because this is not something that I watched when I was a kid. My parents don't buy the pay-per-views. I've said that before. Oh, it's funny, dude, because I was watching it with my son. She goes, you watched this when you were a kid?" I'm like, "No, Grandma and Grandpa did not buy the pay-per-views the way you get to watch the pay-per-views."
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have WCW pay-per-view money.
Yeah, it wasn't this easy back in the day.
Yeah.
But so I feel like if I was watching it back in the day, maybe I would think a fan really jumped the rails and to attack the officials.
Have y'all ever seen the show Eastbound and Down?
So I'm to watch this on HBO.
Yeah. So the referee who came in, fucking Kenny Powers, saved the day, baby. Pull it with the goatee, yeah.
Dude, yeah. Nick Patrick does look like Kenny Powers. Oh, shit. Oh, man. That mold is beautiful on that man.
All right, so we got to rate it, guys. Before Lathan interrupts us, Lathan, what'd you give it?
Oh, man. This one's rougher. I gave it a 1.6.
Oh, generous.
It was one of those that I have to, like, I gave credit where credit was due, given the situation. Like, okay, it's two really good wrestlers, but they're kind of exhausted at this point. Still a pretty decent match between the two of them until you get to the very extra bloated ending of the match between Stevie Ray and Buff Bagwell coming out there. Like literally, this could have been done so much better, and this could have been portrayed so much better. So mildly entertaining. 13-year-old me marked out for it, admittedly. 38-year-old me, yeah.
So I'm going to give that match a 0.99. It was almost a 1 star, but just not quite enough. It just didn't get. It just wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was too long for what it should have been. So, George, what'd you think?
I think I will maybe like a 1.01, like just barely there, because they did have good spots, and it could have been really good if it wasn't for like the Buff Bagwell kind of like jump in. Like if they would have just finished it clean, I think it would have been pretty well. Cause I was enjoying it. Like after the shenanigans and that once they actually started going at it, it was pretty enjoyable. And all of a sudden, this guy in a mask jumps in a suit, and then after that, I was like, okay, this is dumb.
Yeah. I get you want to have Buff Bagwell involved in everything, but for him to sprint off wearing a pair of jeans, Tommy Hilfiger jeans, and then randomly come back in later in a suit with a Bill Clinton mask, like it's too much. Like that's too much.
They should have just sent somebody else.
Yeah,
another NWO guy.
right. But it was NWO B team where they already had like the other people were going to be occupied later on. So it was kind of fucked up. Next matchup was one that I was really looking forward to. Like I thought, man, this is going to be a good match. And I was not disappointed. We had Kevin Nash versus Scott Hall. And I'm trying to do the thing for Scott Hall, but this is actually a spaghetti noodle because I'm fat. So, but I'll say this, man. The NWO Wolfpack, their music, man, that shit slaps. So good, dude.
It is. Yeah,
Damn.
it is in fact too sweet.
Yeah.
Bow, bow,
Yeah.
bow, bow.
Nope, better than
Wrong one. Sorry.
So I do have a question though. Like going into them having
No
to
questions,
split
just answers.
back-
Sorry.
with them going into the factions and breaking down the NWO, I feel like there was some missed pieces to the Wolfpack that could have been populated better. Like it was cool to see Conan. It was cool to see Kevin Nash. I could have done without NWO Sting. Like there was like having him placed in there was kind of weird for the time. But they're trying to put too many pieces together. They could have just had half of the NWO just split off and go with Kevin Nash instead of trying to create something out of nothing. Because the only other, it was just basically Conan and Kevin Nash were only the main characters from the original faction that went over and started their own faction. Everybody just kind of splintered in, except for Macho Man, but he wasn't there for half of it because he was injured.
Again, I wasn't a WCW fan, so I'm watching this from the outside looking in, and I don't know, man. I liked the NWO for the faction they were. Sting was weird in the red, but I liked it. I liked the goatee. I liked the red face. I liked the just everything about Sting as NWO Wolfpack to me was I liked it.
Well, I'll say since you're saying that, I'll say I really like Red Sting for the aesthetics, but once he joined NWO Red, it took away the mysterious of like when he was gonna pop up or what he was gonna do. Like the whole thing of like where does Sting lie and where his loyalty is.
I really enjoyed this match. The idea of best friends fighting each other. I put in my notes that how much I miss, and I'm gonna miss, we're all gonna miss the hey yo. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. But God, he was so good. Like Scott Hall, God, he was good. And this match with them together and fighting, they fight and it's a best friend kind of fight. Like they're going at each other and they're taunting. there was a point where Kevin Nash is just whooping the shit out of Scott Hall, and he goes, "Yeah, get you some." And I'm like, that made me laugh. But these two guys, we know, as all wrestling fans do, that Hall and Nash, best friends. Hall with a lot of issues. Man, him and Hall going at it, or him and Nash going at it, so good. This match was really good. And it kind of, there was a moment where the first jackknife powerbomb kind of scared me, because Hall didn't get up as far as he should have, and he got dropped. And I mean, it kind of made me like pull back for a second. This match was really good overall. Hall and Nash, best friends fighting. The finish was a bullshit finish, but Kevin Nash just beating the shit out of his best friend, trying to get him to realize how fucked up he is. And then just he beats him to the point. Like, I know he's done. Done. And he walks out. He goes like that. He starts taking off the tape. Like, dude, this match told one of the best stories I've ever seen in pro wrestling.
It was very truthfully told. But do you think it was like at some point like too much, like too much or too close to the truth?
Like going back to the reality-based wrestling that they're going into, and the reality-based storylines that they're playing up at this time. This is the way that you can put that story together. Like, luckily, these two work really well together as far as the way that they gel, and the way that the chemistry they can have with each other on both sides of the ring, whether they be a tag team or going one-on-one with each other. And so they're really good. Like you were saying, going back to what you're saying, like, they told a really good story in this match. The ending, the thing that took me out of it was Kevin Nash walking out at the end, because it didn't really, it didn't finalize anything. It didn't give the match closure. It didn't give them storyline closure, because they don't really, from here, they kind of just slightly move on and transition to different storylines as they keep going. I think this is Scott Hall's like last match in the WCW for a while, especially the way they beat him up, or like he was taken down. But man, like the match from bell to bell, well, up until the count out part was really good. Like, it was like, neither one of them could really get a leg up on the other one, because they know each other so well, and they played it into that. And to their credit, like, I gotta give commentary their own credit to this match too, to really give us the background, keep us entertained story-wise, and keep us reminding us, or keeping us in line with, like, hey, they have been on the road. Like, their narration of the story that was being told matched, and it wouldn't flow. Like, there was no mute points. Everybody was paying attention. Everybody was locked in. Like, it kept you entertained the whole way through. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of my favorite matches from WCW at that time. I was, as a WCW fan at the time, I was definitely heavily invested in Outsiders. Like, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, I absolutely loved them. And it was the reason I would tune in originally week to week to see what they would do. But then the NWO thing took over, and it became even more must-see TV, right? But when they had this match, it was kind of like, okay, I want to see what the next step in this storyline is going to go, and it kind of just stopped.
I want to rate it, because I loved the finish. I loved the finish where Scott Hall was down. Kevin Nash just beat the shit out of him, and he's done. He's done. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about anything else. He just had to whoop the shit out of his best friend, and he left. I love the finish. So let's go ahead and rate it. Lathan's gonna interrupt everybody else, so let's go ahead. Lathan, what you got?
So this one I easily gave a 3.8. I think this is the second highest rated match on the show. I think I gave it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it did everything it was supposed to do as a match. And it was the right people to give the right match.
Nice.
Definitely earned his keep that night. If I would have paid and saw this, I would have said that was worth the $29.99 I may have paid at the time. Based on
George, what you got?
I'm going 3.4 on this one, just because it made me feel crap.
Yeah.
You know, like like him walking out, it almost made me feel like, yeah, this one's real. Like we all have that friend that goes too hard, too fast, and then sometimes you just want to be like, I'm gonna beat the sense into you, but I'm not gonna finish you because you're gonna learn your own lesson.
Yeah.
I'll still hold your hair back while you puke. Hold your beard, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what gave me that sense of, is like, okay, like, you know, these guys are vatos. They're friends, and you know, he's not gonna finish this guy off. No pun intended. Cut that off. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like you're not gonna beat your friend into, you know, like like unconsciousness. You're just gonna teach him a lesson and be like, all right, man, you're done.
I gave this match a 3.82. It was really, really good. Man, I felt it in my heart. Like two best friends were having to go at it. One guy just,
Especially that segment where it's like, I don't even know you, or whatever he was saying. Like,
yeah. I felt it
too close for comfort.
Yeah, felt it to my core. Loved it. Great match. Great story behind the match with two really good pro wrestlers. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. I'm always gonna miss hearing the "Hey yo."
Hey yo.
Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Damn it. All right, next matchup we got.
Also, really freaking nice guy, because I got to meet him in the same Comic-Con. Bret Hart.
Oh, what?
Did I say the name right?
Yes. How do you not know?
I'll go because I almost said Bret Michaels. In the same one where Bret Hart was like, all right, man, let's take a picture quick. Scott Hall was there. Scott Hall was walking down the aisles of the Comic-Con. Like, he wasn't at his booth. He was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go. And badass guy. Like, super cool. I was like, hey, can I take a picture? He was like, yeah, man.
That's amazing. Damn it, that's amazing. Speaking of Bret Hart, next matchup we got is Bret Hart versus Sting. And I really had super high hopes for this match. Like, I thought this was going to be a clinic in pro wrestling. And it really kind of wasn't. Like, first thing, and maybe it's my, like, OCD, autism, whatever it may be, the flag on the United States Championship. Awful. Looks like Cuba. Looks like the Cuban flag. I will say,
I see what you mean.
I will say though, I like Wolfpack Sting.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, the goatee and, I'm going to grow a goatee and I'm going to be a bad guy. Yeah, I don't know. I liked the Wolfpack Sting, but I will say that I despise the heel Bret Hart. Heel Bret Hart is awful. Like, he is a quintessential chicken shit heel where he's gonna just do all the bad shit.
Wait, even Bret Hart, heel Bret Hart in WWF or WWE?
Yeah, no, awful.
No,
Right?
I
Okay. I just felt WCW just because I felt like he never wanted to be there.
there was a part of me that didn't want to be there, but at the same time too, like the heel version of Bret Hart in WWF felt more organic and natural, versus the heel force fed one they were given in WCW. Because there was so Art, to be fair, since you didn't watch this part of it, like going back and watching some of the heel stuff he did, because he was never part of the NWO, he was just always an associate of the NWO. So like they would do a lot of swerves for the sake of swerves and involve Bret Hart in there somewhere, and it became more of an annoying nuisance to have him somewhere played in the background of being a heel, a chicken shit heel, when he's done better. Like you could tell he's kind of phoning it in at this time. The way they were booking him, and it's just the way that he's used to working behind the scenes with like creative. They didn't have anything for him. Like when he went to WCW, they kind of just like dropped the ball with him. The best analogy I've ever seen about this situation is imagine finally getting that toy that you really wanted after all that time of really anticipating it, getting it, and then just crushing the shit out of it because you have not like you don't know what else to do with it. And that's what WCW did with this. They had like a really coveted toy, and they got the toy that they've always wanted, and they fucked it. Not like that.
That's what you do with a toy.
Bad choice of words. They just crushed it and demolished it. But
I'll say I noticed that in the match, they did kind of a similar pace to SummerSlam in '92, the one we watched last month. It was very comparative with the headlocks and the holds and everything, which was very weird. It was weird to watch them, the two of them, like have a really slow paced match for who they were. Like this should have been a quick, fast, going at it match, and it was very kind of slow paced, which I don't understand.
Yeah, for context, the Sting we got now is probably I don't know if you remember, but there was like a transition where Sting kind of like found religion, and he was bad off in substance abuse issues of his own. Like, didn't know this, but like it's basically the goatee Sting. I think this is where I get the bad association with it, right? It's a goatee Sting with the NWO red and black is basically the worst version of Sting possible on multiple levels. So personally, he's going through a lot of stuff, and then it's not really registering in the ring as far as his performance, because his performance is lackluster based off of the Sting we know, like the WCW Heavyweight Champion that used to run with like Rickety Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair for an hour type of match. And then we kind of reached this point, and this is one thing I noticed I felt about this match, is that we kind of reach a point between two really good workers in the ring on a technical level that are just in their own different ways emotionally burnt out from the business. And it's just that they've met at the wrong time. Because I was super excited about this match. Like Sharpshooter versus the Scorpion Deathlock.
Yep.
Man, I was like, I was a mark for this match the second time going and watching it again. But like, it just, you can see there's a misstep somewhere in there between the both of them.
Should have been better. George, what
Could have been better.
What do I rate it, or what do I think?
What do you think?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, I really liked Red Sting. I just think he wasn't as predictable, or he was more predictable as Red Sting versus like individual Sting. This match I really enjoyed to the fact that it was like two badasses, just like Lathan was saying. Like these two guys are just like the top of the totem pole in wrestling. But the match itself did not interest me. Like when we were like as a whole, it wasn't like interesting. It was like just there. And then I really don't even think I paid attention to the end of it. I know I was watching it. I was kind of getting like that sleepy feeling. So I got up to get some water, and I heard like there was like a ding ding ding, and I was like, "Oh, what happened?" Okay, well, whatever.
I'll give you the notes real quick, George. Sting has the Stinger Splash that he hits in the corner.
I saw that.
Goldberg jumps, knocks himself out on the ring post, which is just basically a normal move nowadays, like a super kick in a match. But then what ends up happening is that Bret Hart then gets Sting's bat somehow. I forgot how the bat was introduced, but all I remember is that like
that's where he's like hanging over like half and half over the rope. Like
he's out cold, and he keeps like hitting Sting with the bat for like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, bats hurt. Like,
I think that's when I stood up. When I saw the first one, I go boom, he hits him, and I go, okay, I understand where things are going. And so I stood up to get some water, and that's where I didn't see the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm like
hitting him.
I didn't think he hit him more than once. I was like, okay, one time, I know where this match is going.
One time, we're good. We're good.
Yeah,
that makes sense then.
And that's how the match ends. Something with a baseball bat.
All right, Lathan, let's hear it. What do you rank it? Or what do you rate it?
Oh shit, I didn't even rate this match on my notes. I'll give it what it should have had as far as bat swings. I'll give it a 2.5.
Dude, you and I are almost on the same level. We're like kind of weird syncing up.
So here's what gets me about this. So this pay-per-view, like I remember vividly watching this, and like I watched this a few like matches or clips of it over the years. What entertains me more about this pay-per-view, art going into it, is knowing that you've never watched it before,
right?
And still seeing the same results for like somebody watching it for the first time versus like somebody that's watched it over and over again. Well, we already know what Art's rating is. George, what's your rating?
Well, no, you don't know what my rating is. We're close, but not quite. George, what you got, man?
My rating, honestly, until I stood up to like wake up, I was enjoying most of it. So I'm gonna go with a 2.8 probably. Just because it didn't like retain my attention to the very end. Like I know I was falling asleep. Like it was, dude, and it's weird. Like even like nowadays, like modern. I'm watching matches, and there's certain matches that I know are bathroom matches, and I start like dozing off. I'm like, oh, I gotta get up or else I'm gonna miss the rest of the match, the rest of the show. So this was one of those, like, it was like very entertaining, but there was a moment where I was like, oh. So that's where I'm going, 2.8.
Nice. So I gave this match a 2.16.
Which I feel bad going that low with two of like top dog wrestlers, you know.
Right. That was kind of how I felt about it. Like, one of my notes is it was a really slow pace, and I expected more.
Fair enough.
So we're gonna take one more commercial break, and then we got to do more of this. We'll be right back.
Drink.
A Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, a lighthearted, thought-provoking comedic podcast. The important thing to remember is that Too Hard, Too Fast, we don't check facts. Something you can check is for Too Hard, Too Fast podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you use.
Thank you again to our sponsor who has not sent us a single fucking dime. So next up, we have the...
Fuck that guy.
We have what I thought was the main event, but apparently not in the show. We have Hollywood Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Pee-pee.
You know, my first note on this was, it's weird with Hogan having the power that he does. This is not the main event. And I thought that was...
Well, actually...
Excuse me? Excuse me?
But I will say, the Warriors' entrance music kind of slaps. Like it's a good... Like, he had good entrance music. Like, really good. But by the time he got to the ring and he's like on the corner, he's like... I hate to say it, the man's passed away, but damn, dude.
So technically, this was one of two main events, according to the card. But there was so much that went into this match that was horrible. Like, I think this is probably hands down like the worst match that both these people had. Like, it's the expectation was WrestleMania 6 rematch, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is we have two people that proved Vince McMahon right in the way he aged out wrestlers at the time. But also like two egos that don't want to give each other credit or work with each other in different ways. The Warrior wants what he wants and gets what he gets. Hogan is captain, that don't work for me, brother. And then we have this happen. Going into the match, Nitro to Nitro, it was pretty entertaining from a perspective, like from my 13-year-old perspective. As a child, like it was really, it kept you coming back to see what else is going to keep the needle moving forward storyline-wise. But looking back at it now, I'm like, this is horrible. It was entertaining at points and at moments, but like as soon as they got in the ring, what I was expecting was nothing close to what I got. And it just kind of got weird for a while.
Yeah, I will, though, with the intros and everything, the Warriors' entrance music and everything was awesome. And the fact that they were like, from the One Warrior Nation, way better than, coming from parts unknown, that was way cool. Way cooler.
Yeah.
But there was a weird point where I swear to God that the crowd was chanting Warrior.
Swear to me.
Crowd was chanting Warrior sucks. No?
Yeah. No,
that was.
it's like, I think going to your point, Art, the entrance is where it was the best, but then the bell rang. There's a crowd mix here, right? Where like you have the older guys, like, kind of like us now, that grew up watching Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior, and now they're bringing their kids to come watch it, and they go into it thinking that it's supposed to look one way or it's going to feel one way because they remember it one way, and then the bell rings and we start to get something completely different. Like, you try to recapture that same nostalgia, but you can't get it back the same way. And you know what? There was something that I was going to mention earlier or last podcast too, but Hulk Hogan at this time, they actually dubbed over his music for his pay-per-views too, because he was coming out the Voodoo Child. Yeah, and so on the Peacock, like, you're listening, like, they did a good job syncing up the NWO music because it's easily repetitive. George can go ahead and start singing something out if you want.
Bow, da, bow, bow, da, bow. She me gusta.
Yeah.
At a point where they hadn't really done anything in the match, Hollywood Hogan, his whole back is wet, and he looks like a goddamn football. Like that like leather skin kind of, he looks like a damn football.
He does not age well with a tan.
No. But so we're talking about the entrances. So from Hollywood Hogan coming out and Ultimate Warrior coming out, when the lights went on, right, where everything in the arena is lit up, it was 2.5 minutes before they actually like touched each other. I did the research. I know Lathan is our numbers guy, but I wondered, like, where was?
But I wonder when people touch each other. He keeps the numbers, but I watch.
I don't know what I expected from the match, but the botches, oh my God. So
many. Yeah.
So bad. So many. I look back on this and then I look forward on this. Hogan was way worse in this match than I ever saw him after this match. So there's one defining factor in that. Maybe the Warrior.
It's both. It's leaning more towards Warrior, but it's both. It's one of those that when you look at wrestling matches and how some are put together, like, this is something that they've done before, which I think I give it more. I expected more out of them because they have done this before. Like, this isn't nothing new between the two of them. Like, we're just rewriting another storyline to this chapter of Hulk Hogan's career, and then giving Ultimate Warrior some more accreditation in it as well. But it kind of goes to what they were, like, WWF was playing up at the time, is that you go down to WCW because you're old, you're tired out, like, you're kind of in the later years of your career, like you're not the same energetic person that you once were, and like they kind of lived up to the whole stereotype that that Vince McMahon had laid out that way.
And it's so bad, man.
Yeah.
These guys going at it, and I really wanted to be fired up for these two going. God, but it was so bad. I guess there's no DQ in the match because they start whooping the shit out of each other with the belt. it was a weird match. And I don't know where the line was for how bad it is.
There was never a line.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Fuck the line.
And then you had the random moment where the NWO B team kind of came in. You had Vincent, you had Stevie Ray, like it was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, and then Hogan pulls out like I don't know, was that a crack?
The flash paper.
But it was like a Ziploc bag. Like you can't.
Yeah. See, and that's where it really started going like completely sideways. Because like you're supposed to have like he doesn't try to hide it. Like he pulls out everything instead of pulling out some of it. And then the flash paper doesn't go off the way it's supposed to in the Warrior's face. And the Warrior doesn't know how to react to it not going off in his face. And then now we have to kind of create something completely different.
It's a lighter.
It's botchamania. Like, this is what this is.
I will say, though, for the moment, the announcers did a really good job in their commentary for it. I mean, they're like, oh, he tried to burn his face. He tried to break. Oh, he tried to do this. Really good. Really good. I thought that as bad as the match was, the announcers did a really good job.
Listen, they knew how to shine that turd to make it sound better than what it looked like. Yeah, I definitely give them credit for that. Like, between Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay, they were really good about playing up to the storylines that they were trying to portray and giving the matches more body to work with.
Yeah.
Which I think realistically, and this is one of the bigger takeaways I guess I would say about WCW at the time, like it was more entertaining to watch WCW on TV because you had the commentators that you can at least follow to help you understand what's going on inside the ring. Where if you watch, like, and if you're in the audience watching this on Halloween Havoc and how crazy and horrible this is, you don't have any context. You don't have anybody trying to at least make it make sense to you. You're just kind of watching it and be like, this is nuts. This is stupid. Like, there's none of this makes sense. Like, you're like, this is something I put in my notes too, is that like you're looking at the match where two great entertainers of the time, everybody's sitting down. There's nobody standing up for this match, excited and cheering one way or the other. Everybody's sitting down, just kind of waiting for the ending. Like, let's get this over with. Like,
yeah, the match wasn't that great. The interference and it, I don't know, nothing from it was like wow, other than the entrances.
So let's go ahead and rate it. I'm curious to see what y'all would rate it.
I think we know.
All right.
Well, let's put that dagger in the coffin. I don't even know. I don't know if that's a saying.
Lathan, go ahead. What do you give it?
All right. I hate to do this, but this is a 0. Can I go negative?
Nope. Gotta give it a positive score.
So 0.01.
Ah,
the lowest denominator I could give it at this time, respectfully. Like, no, it's just it goes off the rails the wrong way. It never started the right way. The only thing that made sense about this was the entrances, and then everything else about this was just fuck me. I was like, this shit sucks. This is horrible. I was like, it didn't, like, nothing about it made sense. Like, Hogan's nephew comes out after he gets beat the fuck up, like, from Monday to help him out. And then lighter fluid somehow introduced into this whole thing after the bell. Like, you're going to actually light this dude on fire all of a sudden in the ring. Like, it was way too much going on. And none of it made sense at the end of the day. But a fun fact about this match though is that this match, talking about time management, while it was 14 minutes and 18 seconds, it was
Give it
actually
them
only supposed to
numbers.
go 10 minutes. They all ran so this match ran over time, and this leads to a situation that happens with the next match.
Yep.
But this just goes to show like the egos between these two people. Like they couldn't even manage time because they were both trying to get over in different ways.
Well,
So
I'm going to go ahead and give this my rating. And I gave it a 1 star just for the fact that it's Hogan, Warrior. Yeah, I don't even want to give it that, but I'm going to give it that because it's Hogan, it's Warrior. Don't look at me like that.
I can't.
I'm not even looking.
No, it's not you. It's not you.
Sorry, Art. I'm sorry.
Chuck. One of us.
So,
Thought
the
better of
last
me.
match, we are down to the main event, which, ironically, I kind of thought the Hogan Warrior match would be the main event, but
Wait, George didn't give a rating. You are.
Are we still talking about Hulk and Warrior?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
my bad. Sorry.
Shit, man, I enjoyed most of it. Oddly enough, I kind of like. I'm gonna have to go 2.8.
Come again?
Oh!
Really?
Why
Too
are
high?
you the way that you are?
Too high? The way I am? No, I'm just kidding. I think 2.8 is fair enough. It was two big names. It was enjoyable ish to watch. Just watching two big names. But okay, I'm rating it 2.8 as watching it for the first time in 2023 for a 98 match of one guy that is gone and matches that are like probably like, so that's why I think it was like a little bit of like that wow factor.
All right, fair enough. I mean, that's fair enough.
It don't make me feel better.
But
I regret everything I said already.
all right, we're going to take one more commercial break before we get into the main event. So everybody hang on tight, and we will be right back.
Hey, Too Hard, Too Fast podcast.
And here we go to the main event. We got Goldberg, the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, versus DDP. I thought this was going to be more than what it was, but for people in 1998, you got to see. Jesus, my.
And I'm the Mexican here.
You got to see a moment where there is a tackle that went out of the ring and then it cut off. That was the end of the show because WCW didn't know that they had to alert the cable companies that they were going to go over the time. Guys, do y'all have any memory? Do y'all have any memory of this, buying this pay-per-view and seeing that?
I have no memory of 2 seconds ago.
Yes.
Okay,
So I
sorry.
remember the feed specifically cutting out and thinking my TV was fucked up when it actually cut out because like it was the pay-per-view was playing and then all of a sudden you just got the pay-per-view like dead music that they played in the background. You're like, what's going on? Like, granted, I didn't have pay-per-view at the Scramble channel, but like, you still knew that there's a match going on, and basically everybody that paid for it only got 1 minute and 6 seconds of the main event. highly unprofessional, but at the same time, like it goes back to proper time management. Like, listen, respectfully, the communication to the network provider aside, they could have had this whole match inside a 3-hour window if they would have just timed everything properly. But then it's for them, it's a good and bad. So the good part is that like because they did cut the feed when they didn't have one of the biggest Nitro ratings ever because everybody got to watch the match for free the next night because they cut the feed. The downside of it is that they lost so much money because they lost the feed. So yeah, man, that absolutely sucked. And realistically, if it wasn't for like moments like this specifically, like maybe we would still have a WCW around to enjoy a little bit longer. Like they're still going to lose in the end. They're still going to get bought out. But you have to think to yourself when you see these errors and these big mistakes happen in a small time frame, like if they would have actually did this correctly and time managed this properly, like where would they have been historically versus where they ended up at?
Yeah.
Right?
Michael Buffer being the lead into the main event match, he brought a lot of credibility to WCW. Like doing the weight and the commissioners and everything like that. Like he brought so much into this match that for them to end it so quick, for them to be just done, was a travesty. And as soon as Goldberg dropped DDP out of the ring, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh shit, this is the pay-per-view where they cut like a minute and a half into the show. Dude, that like 1998, you pay so much money most people don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch any pay-per-views. Most of them.
But I like the fact that and maybe they just didn't know it or anything. Referees, the announcers just kept going. And I like that there was a random moment where they were talking about Goldberg. And they go, yeah, I talked to this guy who was a player with Goldberg for the Falcons. He's a Hall of Fame. Oh, and Goldberg just used to randomly run up and wrestle players. What? What?
Random factoids and make him look more than what he actually is.
Yeah, like what? I will. So one of the spears that Goldberg hit on DDP, holy shit, it looked hard as fuck. Like he hit him, and it looked really, really hard.
I know Goldberg still retains at the end, but like I know he's like what, a year in at this point of being an actual wrestler. So a lot of this stuff was still pretty heavy-handed and stiff. I will get so the one thing I did take away from this match and I give him credit for is that this is one of his longest matches in total, as far as his WCW title reign, because he's still green. He's still not that guy that can give you a long-winded match. But him and DDP and the way they went out here to actually put on the match, it actually made Goldberg look more legitimate across the board. Like it gave him a little bit more endurance in the match to where he didn't look like he was blown up all the time after like the second minute of the match. So I do like that part about it in itself, but
Yeah, Goldberg was really kind of impressive in this match. I think it could have been more, but I think with DDP it could have been a lot more carrying Goldberg, but he's not the guy you're gonna get the big match out of.
his big matches are within 10 minutes
Right.
for sure. What did you think of the match, George?
Sorry, guys. I forgot I was like on the podcast right now. The whole time I'm just eating chips.
Ta-da.
Boring as fuck, which I thought was gonna be amazing.
Dude, my comment, all my notes, very underwhelming.
Should have been amazing, is what I think.
Yeah.
Hashtag should have been amazing. It should have been amazing. Amazing. Because these two wrestlers, actually, I'll say this. Diamond Dallas Page is a way better wrestler than Goldberg. But Goldberg is a big name, and I loved him as a kid. And it's still now, dude. And the sucky thing about it is, like, I feel like I live so close to Goldberg, and I will never see him. That's how much of a fan I am for Goldberg. So, no matter what he does in the ring, it's a shitty match. I'm still always going to be a fan. So, I expected a big thing for this one. But it's going to be a low rating. Are we already rating?
Yeah.
No.
Let's do it. Go ahead. Do it.
2.8. 2.8.
Oh.
Because it should have been like the match that people still remember. But I would, right now, if I didn't watch it tonight, I would have never remembered that they even had a match.
Fair. Latham, what you got?
Oh man, this is a tough one. It was challenging to rate it, and there's a couple reasons why, right? So historically, the match
He's being soft. I'm gonna walk away.
So,
Don't beat me up, Lathan.
So there's a couple ways I'll rate it. So for the match itself, in totality, I'll give it a 2.7 because it was entertaining for what it was worth, and it did allow Goldberg to get more accreditation for being a champion that can fight, that can wrestle longer, and given the right, I guess, opponent, can have a good match. But also, reputationally, DDP was known for having these crazy matches laid out for himself anyways. But to know historically how, not this match, but the situation that the match found itself in, historically reigns as far as the way WCW eventually started toppling. And we're starting, like, literally you can start to see that this is the way that WCW is starting to finally turn from being like the competitor to being the we're about to get bought out by the competition situation. It's just interesting across the board. But yeah, I give the match 2.7 for the entertainment value it gave me as a 13-year-old when I finally watched it the next night. Because I know if I was prospectively watching this and spent $30 to watch this, and then to know that my feed got cut off and I couldn't watch this, and then the next night I turned around and got this match for free the next night, I would have been pissed. I still would have asked for my refund because this match was a main event of Monday Nitro material. This wasn't necessarily a full pay-per-view event, but the storyline was that this is what they were going with, and so it was entertaining for a certain effect, but not the main event of Halloween Havoc effect.
My rating on this match was a
It doesn't matter. Sorry, I just throw it out there. I apologize.
All ratings matter, Art.
Guys, I am so sorry right now.
This is why we can't have nice things. No, my rating was a 2.56. It was.
Actually, that's a lot higher than I thought you were gonna do.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad match. It was better than what I normally expect from a Goldberg match. But yeah, it was underwhelming while being overwhelming, if that makes sense. I really kind of figured that DDP would carry it a lot more than what he did. But all right, guys. So let's do this. Let's give the overall rating for the show.
Oh, 2.4.
Oh wow, that's low. Dang,
The
Lathan.
show was low.
I do think that's low. That's low.
Overall, there's two matches that are worth okay. All right, let me go back through this real quick.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna say Halloween Havoc. I've always heard how crazy and cool it was, and the folklore of it. Don't fucking laugh at me, motherfucker.
The what? The foreskin.
The folklore.
Folklore, like the
There it is. There it is. The folklore.
I said what I said and I mean it. But the thing of it, like the thought of the whole thing of Halloween Havoc.
Maybe you meant to say folklorio.
For
Now we're dancing.
Oh man, I can't believe that it took this long for that to get dropped.
I just got back from Kingsville. Sorry.
Me gusta. The Halloween Havoc thing. I never watched any pay-per-view. I didn't know it goes back to like 1989. So I've always had like the thought of Halloween Havoc being like the biggest event ever. And then when we were like 98 is the one you watch. That's the one that got stuck in my head. I was like, oh, 98 is the only time it ever happened. And clearly way wrong. Of how many years my parents did not buy me that pay-per-view. So I would give it a lot higher than that. I would actually give it a 2.4.
So Halloween Havoc is still a thing now. If you would ever watch NXT.
Yeah, they brought it back during COVID for 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Halloween Havoc for NXT is like 2 weeks.
Well, it's happening. Yeah, it's happening. And I thought it was like, wow, bringing it back, you know?
I just want them to bring back
the biggest wrestling fan that is so like unattached or not in the loop kind of thing.
I just want them to bring back the whole like.
Yeah, you just ignored whatever I said right now.
I just want that. No,
cut all of it. Say it again. Say it again, and then you can cut everything I said
want
out.
The pumpkin with the demon behind it with the smoke. That's all I want.
Yeah. Out of a 12 card, like a 12 card pay per view or 12 match pay per view. Sorry. There's only 4 matches that stick out as entertaining enough to want to invest time into watching. The rest of it is historic, like going back and researching, like there's it's put together incorrectly. There's way too many interviews or Nitro Girl interludes that could be used for time better on the show. And then on top of that, 3 matches on here I know that were put together at the last minute because of issues and travel issues with certain wrestlers that could have made the show better. And then, of course, you have your double main event, which one of them is just convoluted to all get out, and then the other one is not even watchable because your feed cuts out. So, there's a lot of issues across the board with communication, time management, and like unnecessary interviews of Paul White smoking a cigarette. Like, it's just so many things. But no, this is not the best Halloween Havoc I've seen, but it is definitely the most historically talked about Halloween Havoc for all the wrong ways.
This is what I'm thinking right now. Everything Lathan said right now is the whole podcast in itself. From what the fuck, from when you guys started at 9 p.m. and it's fucking almost 2 a.m. right now.
Oh, that sums it up. We could have just had him on here. Hey, so here's.
Oh man.
Oh,
Everything shit right now is the best.
Oh.
I felt like I was in the wrestling TED Talk. What he did right now was perfect. Dude, it's from fucking 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. right now. I love this fucking podcast.
yes.
God damn, dude. This is badass. All right.
So I gave the pay-per-view a 2.89. And let me tell you why.
Oh yeah.
No, it was it was good. It was good. The end. It was good.
All right, spin the wheel and make the deal, Art.
Let's go, make it happen.
All right, so next month is November. So what do we have? What's the big pay-per-view that we have in November?
Thanks, Havoc.
We got Survivor Series. So on the wheel, we have Survivor Series 1990, 1997, 1998, and 2003. Here we go.
Spin it on the screen.
Survivor Series 1997. Woo! All right.
Another pay-per-view my parents did not buy for me.
Man. Oh man.
I do like watching these like for the first time as this fucking old guy.
Faction Overload.
Oh man. 97 Survivor Series. That's gonna be a really big conversation. All right.
I'm for it, man. I'm for it. Like I said, I'm these like new time watches. It's badass.
All right. Great.
Wait. 97? Oh.
Yeah. 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 All right. Everybody.
My memory just kicked in.
Yep. Thank you. Everybody who's here. Everybody who's subscribed. Thank you so much. Audio listeners, it would be more fun if y'all came over for YouTube, but we appreciate you. We are a ducking wrestling podcast. We are out, and we thank you every time. Every time.